Hello, friends and fellow lovers of all things beachy. Welcome to The Beach Speaks, the podcast that shares stories about the beach and our connection to it. I'm your host and beach lover, Paige Friend, helping you reconnect with the beach, return to your soul, and reimagine your life. So grab a cool drink, relax in your beach chair, stick your toes in the sand, and enjoy this episode of The Beach Speaks. Hey, beach lover. Imagine being born and raised in Puerto Rico, close to the beach. You earn a degree in engineering, meet your forever soulmate, start a family, all the beautiful things in life, and the beach is part of it all. Then you're offered an opportunity to advance your career, a really good opportunity. The only thing is, you have to leave your beautiful beach life in Puerto Rico and create a new one in the swamps of Central Florida. And, oh yeah, you'll be teaching chemistry to English-speaking students. And it's going to be a challenge because you learned chemistry in your native language, Spanish. How could you ever leave? Well, my guest today, Sindia Rivera-Jiménez, did just that. Sindia is an assistant professor in the Department of Engineering Education and an affiliate faculty of Chemical Engineering Department at University of Florida in Gainesville. But all her stellar academic achievements aside, she's still a beach girl. I was curious to know what it's like for a beach girl from Puerto Rico to live in Central Florida, so far away from family and hours away from any beach. How do you cope? Here's Sindia to tell us how, and to offer hope to you landlocked beach lovers who are yearning for the ocean. Hey, Sindia, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you for inviting me.
Oh, of course, of course. We had such a lovely conversation a few days ago where you were telling me all about Puerto Rico, and then you're having to move here to Florida, to the swamp. And for the listener out there, we'll explain that in a little bit. But I did want to ask you, first and foremost, the question I ask all my guests today is, how is the beach speaking to you today?
So, because I was getting ready for this podcast, I was thinking exactly about that. And, it reminds me of a lot of poetry that we have in Puerto Rico about the beach. So I guess today, just because I'm going through all of the poetry and the literature, I'm like, oh, it speaks about nostalgia. It speaks about home and, the breeze and the mountain close to the beach, which is really common in Puerto Rico. So I guess that's what I have right now. So hopefully this conversation can summarize my experience now in the diaspora here in Florida.
Yeah, I'm really interested in hearing about you growing up in Puerto Rico, right? And family, you still have family there. Well, just tell me a little bit about what that was like. What was your childhood like?
Yeah, so I was born and raised in San Juan, which is the capital of the island. So I spent most of my time in there. However, my family, so my parents will go very often back to their home towns. Puerto Rico is really small, so you can just travel in less than 2 hours and you're in a different town. And the towns are very different. So my dad was from the mountain, or Orocovis, which is called the heart of Puerto Rico, because it's very deep into the mountains. And then my mom is from Yauco, which is completely beachy, the south, very deserted-like area. So it was really really different. The climate it was different. You know, the vegetation was different from the south and the mountains. So I did grow up with that sense of country, if you want to say, right, in the countryside, as you call it here. But it's again, it's such a small island that it is not really like here that you have big spaces like in the United States. But yeah, I grew up there. I went to public school my whole life, and you know, I was really good at science and math, and I was able to get to a high school that was focused on science and math, and that's how I became interested in engineering. Like I was able to become the first engineer in my family, you know, the first person that decided to go move away to the west side to Maya West. And that's how I became part of the west side of the island and, you know, explore the beautiful beaches in the west, which are quite different from the ones close to San Juan. So, yeah, I spent 14 years in the west side, and I can truly say that the best beaches in the island are in the west side. So I'm so sorry, those of you that are hearing me out in the podcast, but I'm gonna stand my ground.
Right. Well, we have our favorites that you're allowed that. I have many favorites. I mean, the beach has something for everybody anywhere you go. Well, tell me in San Juan, in that area, I visited there and the beaches there are, as I recall, that kind of soft white sand, right? And that clear blue ocean and all of that. So what is it like then on the west? What makes it different?
Yes, so Puerto Rico is like a rectangle, right? So on that corner, when it comes down, the ocean changes. So in the north, you have the Atlantic Ocean, which is really like a lot of waves, very similar to the ocean here in Florida. I don't like the waves as much because I don't like the jumping, and I really get sick, like seasick, if I am like jumping in the waves. So when you are turning left, right, on the side on the west side, it changes. The ocean changes. So now you have the Mona Canal, which is Mona is one of the islands of the arc. For those of you that don't know, Puerto Rico is not an island; it's an archipelago. So we have multiple islands
Mm,
surrounding the main island. So we have the Mona Canal, and there it starts changing to the Caribbean Sea. The Caribbean Sea is more calm. You know, you don't see the waves, and they have a lot of more calm waters and a lot of reefs that protect the area, so you can just go in and be like in a pool basically without the need of
hmm.
being jumping around like in the north. So I think I like
Yeah.
that a lot. I like swimming in the ocean, so not having choppy water helps.
Yeah, it does make it a little easier to swim. So it sounds to me it's kind of like the Gulf Coast is here in Florida.
Yes.
Yeah, just a little more calm, and I'm sure the water is nice, and you can see.
Completely. It's completely crystal clear waters. Yeah. So
Ooh, I want to go now.
I know, and I mean, when you go to the south, you have Cabo Rojo, you have the other corner of the island that is more to the Caribbean Sea, and you have you can go in a boat. The best thing about having a boat is a friend having a boat that lives in Puerto Rico. So shout out to my friends over there. We always go and we go island hopping. Again, it's an archipelago, so you can just go to very secluded beaches that are only accessible by boats. We have a lot of mangroves in the south, so you know the water tends to be more clear, very clean because of the
Hmm.
mangroves. And you grow up in Puerto Rico learning about ecosystems because we have so many hurricanes, right? So you learn about weather, you know how to track hurricanes. You also know which areas are more protected. So it's really interesting that when you go and visit, you also think about, oh, that's a black mangrove, that's a red mangrove. So you can identify them as you go. At least I like that. I'm a scientist, so I do like that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's easy to be interested in that sort of thing when you live in it and it's just part of your
Every day.
everyday surroundings. Yeah, yeah. Something that I was going to ask you because you said that you are the only engineer in your family or the first to pursue that. What was it about your childhood, or was it just your curiosity? Were you like in fifth grade saying, I'm going to be an engineer. And
Not at all. I like science. I knew that had that affinity for science. My mom, she is a geologist. That was her bachelor degree, so she will always talk about rocks, and she was really good at math. And I will up at her, and know that she will help me with science and math. And I was kind of like attracted to that. But honestly, it wasn't
Mhm.
until high school that I got involved with the chemistry club and, start going to competitions, and I realized that I was really good at building things. I'm very creative. So, I tell the girls that I talk about science and math, I said, like, if you like to do scrapbooking, if you like to build jewelry, if you like to use your hands, those are engineering skills. So I figured that I could use those to solve problems, and I enjoyed a lot chemistry. So through chemistry and physics, which is a really fun way to learn math, I kind of like got directed to do engineering, and chemical engineering was one of the options. And that's how I got attracted. I like problem solving. I like, the chemistry and being able to build things. And that's how I got into it.
Yeah. I'm just trying to picture what your day-to-day life when you were a little kid on this glorious beach island. And are you like taking palm fronds and, chasing after sea creatures and building them
I wish.
houses or
I wish. No, not really. But growing up, I was really in. I mean, my parents were busy, so we would not go that often unless it was on the weekends. In Puerto Rico, you go to the beach during the summer, even that is hot. But we don't go typically during the winter because we have a lot of salgazo, which is this. It's just like seaweed that will bring jellyfish and will bring all of this, new ecosystem, and those things will sting you. So I will
Mhm.
never go in winter. So when we will go, we actually plan it, right? So we will go with the big casseroles of rice and beans and chicken. Like, we will not take sandwiches. We will go with the whole, like, it's a field trip to go to the beach. It was even that it
Mhm.
was like 30 minutes away. Again, the island is small, but because there's a lot of traffic and it's a lot of population, like, it takes time to get to places, but it will be a whole planned thing. My beach experience came after I went to the university. I had more freedom. I have a car. Maya West is like 10 or 15 minutes away from Rincon, which is one of the best surfing beaches in the island. So it was there that I was able to evolve, just the time with the family to actually have a relationship with the beach and the ocean. I love to go there, and I will go with friends, and I will spend my uh, imagine that this is one of the things I miss my kids will not have because they're not going to go to the university in Maya West, is that imagine on spring break going to a secluded place where it's protected, it's a national forest, and it's a state forest, and every place you step it's a department. So you will have the people from math, the people from is biology. So you will be moving. Every spot was covered with students, and we will spend the whole day there. And those are one of the most fun memories, that you will do. And other times, we will go on to Vieques, and we will stay a couple of days there. So the beach is a way for students to actually socialize and really know each other and build community in the university.
That's what I love about the beach and water is it is a communal space that we all love and just brings out the fun.
Yeah, and before, I mean, I'm very intentional now that if we go to a place like this, that I don't use my phone. I don't need to photograph anything. Like, it's okay to keep and breathe and use my other senses to capture the presence, of the beach and the smell and the sound and I don't know, the visuals. I don't need a photo I have to post it on Instagram necessarily to be able to be there. So I'm trying to keep that.
I totally get where you're coming from. That is my number one, I don't want to say challenge, I guess, is not to I don't want to be on my phone doing email or social media so much. But I do like to take a lot of pictures and videos and things because I want to share that
Yeah.
with my podcast listeners and my friends in general, because I like to say, if you can't get to the beach, I'll bring the beach to you. So if there's something beautiful that I really want to share, I'm on my phone quite a bit for that reason. However, recently we've been going out on the ocean in the mornings doing a sunrise paddle boarding. And well, I lost my phone to the ocean one time long ago, ocean kayaking, and I told myself I'm never going to do that again. I will not surrender my phone to the ocean. So I leave it behind, and I tell people I'm just going to take pictures with my mind.
Yeah, and I think it's a good exercise to detox yourself. And, one of the things that I like about the ocean is this idea that it comes and let go. It comes and let go. So that idea of being present in the moment, but also let go of other things to be able to be here, I think is really magical. I don't know. I wish I could go more to the beach now that I'm living in the middle of the peninsula.
I know. I'm going to circle back to that here soon. However, I did want to ask you about bioluminescence in
Yeah.
where you grew up, because we like to go to the Space Coast and do bioluminescent kayaking. We found a way to do it without having to join the tours. And I hear that there's some spectacular bioluminescence where you grew up.
There is. So again, in the West Side, this is me, Cindia, in college, more freedom, and I was able to make more decisions about myself. So I started like doing scuba diving with my current husband, but I was dating him. Actually, our first date was in the beach. Now that I remember, in Steps Beach in Rincon. I remember the first time I got in, it was a night dive that you have to do. And people will tell me about the bioluminescence. And I will never jump into the ocean at night. It doesn't make sense. I don't know. Like, it was like everything is black. I'm not like, this is very scary.
Yeah, you're not quite sure what's around. Yeah.
I mean, there's not sharks or anything, but anyway. So when I did the scuba dive, I remember the guy told us like turn off the light, so you will put it here, and you start moving your hands, and it's just it's magic. It's like fairies everywhere. It's so gorgeous to be in the water like that. And it was a bay that has a low bioluminescence. So we were able to go recently with the kids. And I was like more comfortable about swimming in the ocean. I was living in an island, but I didn't know how to swim. I just want to mention that to people. I
Oh,
never took classes.
really?
I learned as an adult how to swim. So I would love the ocean, but I would never swim in the ocean.
Well, I can see then why you didn't really like the waves all that much, because
Exactly, exactly.
yeah, you get knocked down, and that would be, yeah, I could see where you'd want to be in the more calm water.
So I went again recently with my family to visit the island. And we went with this friend that I was telling you that has a boat. And it was night. It was like a new moon. There was no moon. Everything was pitch black. And we went to a specific bay that is the most common, like the most famous bioluminescence bay in that area in the south, in Cabo Rojo. And he said, will you jump? And I look at my husband and I said, you know what? I don't have this. Like when I'm here in Florida, I don't have this. And suddenly I am here in paradise and I have the opportunity just to let go and jump. And I did it. I just jumped, and it was amazing. Like it looks like you have like superpowers, and you're like doing this in the water. Your feet will move and they will light up. It was majestic. That experience. It was like maybe 3 years ago. It wasn't that long
Oh,
ago.
wow. I've only been really paddling in it. And well, I have been swimming in the Gulf. I would get up super early before the beach was, you were really supposed to be out at the beach. Like, I think the beach opens at
Yeah.
7, and I was out there at 6 where it was still kind of dark. And I would get in
Yeah.
the water, and I didn't really know what was going on at first. I remember kind of paddling, and then all of a sudden, like my hands were gone. They were just like, oh, I thought, oh my gosh, what is happening? They were just like disappearing and just into, yeah, sparkles of light and all that. So I can't even imagine what it's like. I mean, jumping in, yes, the new moon. is the best time to go, right? Because the sky is really dark. And
Yes. He's pitch black, so it's perfect. And also there's time in the years that the animals are like animals, right? Like plankton, whatever. They are like more active than other times of the year. So yeah.
yeah. Okay, so you were talking about meeting your husband. You had a little story about that, and you when we talked before. So tell me about that.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. So we met in the university, and he asked me out, and we went to the first date was a date in the beach, and I mean it was nice. We went like not scuba diving, we went like snorkeling, and we went to this beach that is called it's Tres Palma, like three palms. But also there's a specific beach that is called Steps because it has old steps. It's really fun because it's like three steps made out of like cement block. I don't know, maybe there was a house there at some point. But yeah, and that's when we had the date. It was fantastic. It was really beautiful. Then we went having like dinner, like it was dinner and a date, right? And then we have food, whatever around, and it was amazing. One of the things about Puerto Rico is because there's mountains close to the beach, there's a lot of hot like very like humble like food places around that actually you get to the balcony and they're just looking the most beautiful sunset that you can ever imagine. So food and the ocean are really related. Like we will go after we started dating to Cabo Rojo. I love oysters, like raw oysters, and we will just go have a like the local beer and just eat oysters, together. And that was we will call it a day. That will be the day that we will have. And I mean, we have been connected with the beach over and over, and I love that. And we've been 20 years strong, so it worked.
Yeah, the beach has a way of bringing our soulmates together.
I know. And you have a similar story, right? That you and your husband.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, our first meeting in person was on the beach. We had met on the phone like a week prior to that, but it was my birthday weekend and he had asked me what I wanted to do. We hadn't even decided to go out on a date yet, but he said, "Oh, what are you going to do for your birthday?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to go to the beach." And he said, "Well, I'll meet you there." And I thought,
Love that.
yeah, so it was like the moment we saw each other, it was just
It was, yeah, it
you're
connected.
my person, and it was just perfect that it was there at the beach because it was something that we both love.
Yeah, it's funny because when I started dating my husband, he asked me, "Hey, do you want to learn how to school?" And I'm like, I don't know how to swim. At that point, I didn't want to tell him that I didn't know how to swim. So I'm like, okay. So we just started like getting the classes, and I got certified and all that. And then we got married. I have the kids, and the kids were younger. And I remember at one point I said, "Carlos, I can no longer do this. I'm scared that I'm not gonna be here for the kids." And he tells the story. Oh, Cindia just did the scuba diving just to hook me, but then she had the kids. And I'm no longer part of the plan. He's so hilarious and funny. And I'm like, no, it doesn't have to do it.
No, it's not necessarily that, but that does kind of change your perspective.
It does. So I remember the moment that I told him we were doing a dive on the east side, which the water is strong, right? East, north side of the island. And it was really nice. We went diving and the current was with us. And then we would go like in a cave, like an open cave. And then we will open up and there was like this island that doesn't have any dirt. It was just a hole. We saw a man ray. It was like Pandora. Like the movie, like it was
Yeah.
beautiful. But you can imagine that if we are going with the current coming back, we were going against the current. So the tide was a little bit up, and the only thing I remember, I mean, I'm a scientist, I told you. So I was like, I know that the velocity is zero close to the surface. That's a boundary condition. And I was just thinking about my fluid mechanic class, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I will remember like crawling close to the floor of the ocean, grabbing myself and thinking, Carlos Andres, like my son Carlos Andres is 2 years old. I don't have a will. I don't have anybody to take care of him. Like I need to survive this. It was stressful. And I turned like I can't do this. Like not anymore.
Yeah. Oh, I get it. I get it. Well, okay, so you moved to Florida and now you live nowhere really near the beach. What was that like?
It was different. I think the colors are different from the tropics. I think the it smells different. It doesn't have the like now in the July, we're in July now. So you the thickness of the environment here in the middle of the peninsula, I noticed. So when I came here, I came to the United States. I got a job at a community college nearby, and it was really rough for me moving away from the island. I was telling you, like I didn't want to move. Like it wasn't on my wild card. Like moving away, I thought I was gonna be there until I got old. But when you have kids, things change. As a family, you have to try to look at better opportunities for the whole family. So we
Hmm.
decided to move, and I came speaking mostly like technical English, but my English wasn't conversational. Like I could not hold a conversation like the one that I'm doing with you right now at that moment in time. And it was really rough for me that first semester teaching. And I think I got into a mini depression, and it may be, I don't know if it was the lack of sun, like it was winter that first semester. It was my first winter with cold weather in North Central Florida.
Yeah, you're in
I'm
Gainesville,
in
right?
Gainesville. Yes, I'm here at UF, a professor here. So, I mean, it was hard for me. And I remember my husband told me, "Oh, do you want to go and see the ocean?" I'm like, "Yeah." And we discovered San Agustin. And I remember going in that December, and it was so perfect because it has like a mini fort, like in Puerto Rico, we have the old San Juan, and it's like a tiny version of it. It was so gorgeous. It was Christmas, everything was decorated with Christmas light. And I was telling you that I love places where you can eat and see the ocean, and places where you can interact with everything that surrounds the ocean, like the everything, right? The people, the businesses, the boats. So it was really nice, and I really felt like, oh, we're not that far away from the ocean. We're actually close.
How long a drive is it from Gainesville to St. Augustine? Like 2 hours, maybe?
More or less, yeah, one hour and 45 if you're able to beat the traffic. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's not bad. So, if those of you who are listening aren't familiar, we call that area in Gainesville the swamp because it is kind of swampy.
It's swampy. It is swampy. But I have learned to appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's one thing I noticed about Florida when I moved here. Well, I grew up in the mountains of Pennsylvania, so I was nowhere near the beach. Always wanted to be at the beach, and I finally found myself in Orlando. When I moved here, though, I was surprised with all the lakes and, the springs. I really never thought about Florida that way. You just think of the beach when you think of Florida. So,
Yeah, and going back to this idea that I like the crystal water of the Caribbean, right? So I go to the beach here, but I actually don't get in unless I'm in like sitting on the corner, or I do like to read a book. I do enjoy the around it, but I will not get in the water. I like to see where my steps are. Like I don't like the milkiness and the cloudiness. Yeah, it's not for me. So I have learned to get a lot of appreciation for the springs because of that. It allows you to see your body as it moves. The temperature is really nice. It's too cold for my taste, but in the summer days, it's really refreshing. So it is not the same as the beach, nothing like the sound of the beach. But it's an alternative when you're not that close. The Fanny Springs is one of my favorite springs, and it's just because it's like the ocean. You just get
hmm
in a pool. You're not moving with the current. You just go there, and it's really nice. I love to go to Crystal Water. They have the river is there, but you also have the beach that ends there.
hmm
Yeah, so Florida has a lot to offer.
Yeah, we were just at Rainbow River a few weekends ago. Took some friends there who hadn't been, and it was spectacular. I mean, the water there in Crystal River is just
Yes.
so, it is crystal clear. I mean, you can see to the bottom, and it's kind of deceptive because you think, oh, it's not that deep, but it really can be.
Yeah, we went to do like manatee, like washing manatees, and it was so amazing,
Yeah.
so amazing. And again, this idea that you are close to the beach, right, but you're still in the river, that soon the waters are gonna combine at some point. I think it's majestic that we have so many aquifers and places where those two ecosystems can coexist, right? So I do enjoy that. I enjoy the manatees a lot.
Oh, I know. They're so sweet. When I got my scuba certification, it was at Crystal River, and our class was going so fast. We just caught on to everything really quick. So the instructor said, I'm kind of running out of things to do today. Would you like to venture out and see if we can dive with the manatees where they normally would be snorkeling? We were under the water and we found this little area where there were a couple, and they honestly, they would roll over like so you could pat their belly. I'm just curious about coming here and not speaking English. I mean, you're teaching chemistry, and I'm assuming that you need to speak English to
Yeah.
your students. I mean, you may have some bilingual students, but that must have been, I would be terrified.
Yeah, I think
That's really brave.
oh, thank you. I appreciate it. And actually, that's what I said to my kids, like speaking multiple language is just being have courage and acceptance that, you know, you may not do it perfectly, but at least you're communicating, and the more languages you speak, the more people you can meet. And I think that's beautiful, right? I mean, I went to
Hmm.
Brazil in 2015 for a faculty exchange, and I try my best to speak as much as I could. I mean, Portuguese is really close to Spanish, but also it has many nasal vowels that English has, which Spanish doesn't have. So I think it's beautiful that you can just try to speak as many languages as possible. But it was really hard. um, it was really tough. The fact that the rules in chemistry in Spanish, the grammar is different. So actually, the rules in chemistry they're also different. So the order of the molecules were different, how you mentioned them. So I have to had a lot of like notes to be able to
Oh,
remember.
interesting.
Yeah.
Well, wow. I wouldn't even think about that.
Yes. And I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore. Sometimes I just get stuck and I just write the words in Spanish. And I said, well, you're learning something new. This is the equipment in Spanish, and it will come to me. And then, whoop, it comes to me, and then I write it in English. This is what I was saying. So, I mean, it's funny. It may not be as funny for some people, but it is what it is. And
I think students appreciate that sort of thing too. And I was just thinking how you were relating a situation to a physics class. You were like in the water diving and you're thinking, okay, the theory of what did you say? Of
fluid mechanics.
fluid mechanics. So, I mean, that's what I really like about this podcast and stories in general. I mean, when we tell about our experiences and things, it's so much fun to tell it in a story because people will remember that more. And I'm just thinking if I was in a class and you were trying to teach me, an English major, anything about fluid mechanics or what have you, if you were telling me the story, I'm scuba diving and I'm only this far. And if I go this far, I'd be like,
Yeah.
totally get it. I totally get it.
Yeah.
Well, are your kids in the sciences? Do they have any interest in that, or are they?
They do. So my son decided to become an engineer too. My daughter has the skills, so we don't know yet, but they may get into this. Yeah. They love the beach too, so I introduced them to the beach as much as I could. Like I remember Natalia. I have a picture of Natalia. Maybe I mean we came from the hospital, and maybe she was like 2 weeks, and she was already in the beach. I have her
Oh,
tiny feet on the making like a footprint on the on. It is beautiful, and
Oh,
yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, is that in Puerto Rico they will tell you that you should bring the kids out to the beach because, first the sun is good for them for
Yeah.
for the vitamin D and also because of the breathing. So, the water, the salt water, the iodine actually helps you with your lungs. So you will go there early. If you were sick, I remember my mom will say, let's go to the beach, and you will clear out because it's just saline water.
Well, yeah.
It makes sense.
It does make sense. Well, yeah, that is one of the wonderful thing, the healing properties of water in general, and especially the ocean,
Yeah.
is that the salt. And people pay good money to
Minerals.
go to a salt room and just sit and breathe salty air.
Yeah, and I remember when the kids got bronchitis, right? They recommended to use the mask with the saline water, and it's like going to the
Yeah.
beach. I guess it makes sense that you take the kids when they're young so they get used to it. The weather is nice. We don't have like cold winter or anything, so
I love that idea.
yeah, something that is interesting that I don't know if you do it here is that we don't like I don't like the sun. Like I like to go to a beach where you have canopy or trees nearby. And Puerto Rico you can find it. They're really easy to get. But here it's really hard. Like it's such a big land between the coast, like the trees and the actual water that you always need
Yeah.
something like a
Yeah,
umbrella.
you need an umbrella or yeah, a canopy or something like that. Yeah, especially on our beach at Jacksonville Beach in this stretch. It's pretty wide and there are buildings if they're not just the dunes. So there aren't any trees at all, really. However, on the Gulf Coast, there are some nice beaches that do have very small stretches of beach and more trees. But I get that. So I don't know. We're all so into getting the suntan and all that sort of thing. I don't know, living here now, we don't spend a whole lot of time at the beach. When we go, we'll spend maybe an hour, hour and a half. We play around, take a nap, get some sun, and then we're done. We're not setting up the whole camp and bringing the food and making a whole big thing out of it.
Whole day.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, we're just not doing that. And people do, and I love it. I love seeing those big family get-togethers. Everybody's just there, got your table set up and the food, and moms and grandmoms are putting it all together, and the kids are running in and out, and
It's a big old deal, though.
it is well, getting all that stuff out there. Yeah, I think that's probably why we don't do it. It's just a lot of trouble to get all that stuff out there.
But I think it makes you appreciate it differently, right? I like the idea that I can just go and be like three hours, like because we're driving now to go to the beach. I said like the minimum we have to stay is at least 2 hours, right? Because that's how long it took us to come here.
Right,
I
right.
do like, yeah, I do like some beaches near the Destin, that area. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. There's some beaches are really, really nice and they're protected, so there's not a lot of people because they're like in a forest or something. But it's worth it. I think walking on the like, I love that you can look up like north and south is just beach. Like it's amazing. There's no corner at all. Like it's miles and miles of beach, which if you have never visited Florida, I think that's one of the biggest characteristics. I went to the beach in Rhode Island and all, but you see the rocky spaces and the corners. We have no corners. Like
No, just keep
it's all
on
the way
walking.
south.
I've done that
Exactly.
before. I've been on a long walk and just being so enamored with the water and the shells I'm finding, and I'm just walking and walking and walking, and then thinking, at some point I got to turn around and go back because I've gone a little far.
I time it. I say, okay, I'm gonna walk 15 and then 15 back
You have to, otherwise, yeah, you'd be gone. You'd be in another county.
in Georgia.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness. Well, so when is your next visit back to San Juan. I know your mother is there, right?
Yes, my mom is in San Juan, so my mom and my sister they live there. So I just came from there, but I just do family stuff, right? So I go and take care of my mom, making sure that everything is okay. So this last visit was mostly like that. I was with her, taking. We were to like government agency. We were doing like boring stuff.
Well, I mean, you did have some hurricanes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They did. Ernesto just passed, and I mean, the infrastructure in the island still in some places like finicky, like in terms of the power grid. And her where she lives is like that. She loses power a lot. Like I was working in a proposal. That's how I met your husband, right? And we were writing the proposal, and I was telling them, "Hey, I don't know if I'm gonna have power, so I better do this now. Do you need anything else? Because maybe at 3 p.m. it would just go off, and there's no way for me to work anymore." So.
Yeah. I can't remember what storm it was. I guess it was in 2017.
Maria.
Yeah, and like knocked everything out. And I worked in aviation at the time, and we were having a lot of pilots loading up planes to take stuff. Everybody was, we got to get this stuff to the island and water and all this stuff. And it was just sitting there at the airport. And everybody was like, why is this not going out? And they were like, you don't understand. Once we get it there, we have no way of getting it to anybody because the roads are out, the phones, the electricity, it's, all of this stuff. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, this is terrifying. And
It
in
is.
Orlando area, there are a lot of people from Puerto Rico there. And I had some people that I work with that were just out of their minds because you just couldn't contact anybody and that not knowing, so I can totally understand why you'd want your mother to be safe and secure.
Yeah.
Do you think that she would ever move?
She tried, but she didn't like it. I think she likes the island. I mean, I'm telling you, I never thought I was gonna leave. If it wasn't for, the life that I have right now as a young adult when I moved, I will not move because I mean the culture is different, the food is different, like the everything is different. It's slow and it's not perfect, but if you can see the perfection in the imperfection, I think you will fall in love with the island. So some again, I sometimes I wish I could go back,
Mm.
but not now because of my career right now. But I understand why she wants to stay, with but like the Americans say, the good, the bad and the ugly, right? So everything you take it as it is.
Yeah. Well, wherever you are in this day and age, the weather is just crazy. You can't count on it to be what it used to be.
Yeah,
The seasons are no longer really the way they are, and wherever you are, there's some kind of weather phenomenon going on. So yeah,
yeah, and many people have never experienced the eye of a hurricane, and it is a very very interesting experience, right? So not everybody in Florida have experienced it, and it could be very nerve-wracking. You underestimate every moment until it happens. So I remember the first one is 1985. It
hmm
was Huracan Hugo, and I was maybe very young, and I will remember the quietness and the feeling that that the winds are gonna come back stronger than they were before, and you know. That experience I think not many people have lived, and I do respect them when they come. I'm really blessed that where we are, I don't know if because of the location in the middle of the peninsula we don't feel it, but they could be devastating, especially the people that live in the coast, and their whole economy, like the whole livelihood, get affected by things like this. So yeah, plus the erosion and everything that happens in the beach.
yeah, we've been fortunate that any of the storms that have come through have kind of died down by the time they get to us. And then if they are fairly strong, seems to kind of come in and then bounce right back out because we're kind of in this strange little curve before everything goes back up through the Carolinas and all of that. So we we've only really had winds and some high surf advisories, but we've just started the hurricane season, so fingers crossed we don't have to worry too much.
in our pre-conversation, I remember telling you that I like to travel to beaches. Like I recently went to the Portland area, and I love to explore because the United States is so different. Like I have done road trips, and I enjoy doing that. And doing a road trip on, like we did a road trip from here to New York, and we were in like around the beach in some areas. But then if you do it on the west, it's so different. Like it is like a different world in terms of the environment, the vegetation. It is more, I
There's
think
no big sandy
no,
stretches.
and everything is gray, and the water is terrifying. If I'm saying that the Atlantic is intense, the Pacific is like, okay, girl, I'm not gonna get in there.
You take one look at those waves crashing. They're beautiful from afar, but yeah, you don't want to get any.
So loud. I remember the loudness, how loud, like the crashing, and yeah, whole different thing.
Yeah. Well, besides going home to your beach there, is there a beach that you've been wanting to visit that's maybe on your beach bucket list? I have a beach bucket list.
So I want to go to the Mediterranean Sea. We went in Barcelona, Costa Brava, a couple of years ago, and it was so beautiful that I really want to do maybe like a cruise and go to different places in the Caribbean and the Mediterranean
Hmm.
Sea. Maybe go to the Dead Sea. I do want to do that. I really want to explore the other side. I want to go to South America, to the Patagonia, but it's so far away. But I wish I could see that, the end of the world. Those are my plans.
All right. I like it. When you go, let me know and then you can tell me all about it. Report back. We're going to Italy for 2 weeks and next month, and we won't be at any beaches per se. We'll be on the coast in Sorrento and Capri in that area. So we'll be looking at the Mediterranean. I've been there once before, and it is really just the water. Just looking at the water is just.
And the relationship between the, which is what I was telling you, this idea, we have a song in Puerto Rico that is called Verde Luz de Monte y Mar, which is like the green light of the mountain and the sea. And it's that union between community and ocean that sometimes you may not have a beach, but there's a living thing between the two of them that I think, places like Capri and in Italy, they have created that relationship between the mountain and the sea, which I think is a different experience than just going to the beach, right? But it's equally beautiful and invigorating.
Absolutely. I love what you just said about the land and the sea, bringing it together. I think that that is a really wonderful place to to end this for now. I love hearing people's experiences with the beach, especially people that have grown up there, because I grew up in, like I said, the mountains of Pennsylvania. So anytime I could talk to somebody who's lived at the beach or has an experience.
I appreciate it a lot because I'm able to speak things that are not related to my job. And I think we are not unidimensional, so we can show multiple selves. And hearing the people in your podcast and hearing the authors that you bring, I think it just provide a very beautiful space for people that love this topic to grow with you as you also discover your relationship with the beach.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Well, have a beautiful, beautiful day. And remember, the beach is speaking. Are you listening? This conversation really has me thinking. What would I do if I had to leave this beautiful beach life and start anew, landlocked and far away from the ocean? Honestly, I don't know how I would cope. I mean, I don't even like going anywhere outside a 3-mile radius of my house. I loved how Cindia connected her love for the sciences with her love for the beach and how she described the relationship between the land and the sea. And when she said, "See the perfection in the imperfection," it reminded me I can be happy wherever I am. That's the beach speaking, my friend. I know many of you listening don't live at the beach, so I'm curious, what do you do when you feel the need to reach the beach? Well, there's an easy breezy way to share your thoughts. You might have noticed at the top of this episode description it says, "Send us a text message." If you click there, it will take you to a text message screen, and then you can simply start typing or talk to text if that's your thing. And by the way, I only get the message, not any of your personal information, so you don't have to worry about that. Try it out. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Beach Speaks. If you enjoyed what you heard, please spread the beachy vibes and share it with a friend. Because, let's be honest, who doesn't want more beach in their lives? And if more beach is what you crave, go to thebeachspeaks.com and sign up for my newsletter. It's an easy way to stay in the know, collect some tips and travel hacks for your next beach adventure, and find out what I'm doing at the beach. And if you want to dive deeper into the ocean of support, consider becoming a Beach Speaks Patreon member. Your contribution helps keep the podcast afloat, and you'll enjoy some cool perks that only our Patreon family gets to enjoy. The beach is speaking. Are you listening?